Let's make it quick. You want to be able to draw something like this, and of course you're able to draw the basics already, like boxes and tubes and all of these other shapes. But it's somehow still not enough for something complicated like a human body. But why? Well, don't worry my friend, because I have a practice that is going to get you there in 3 steps. And then you will be able to draw anything you want from any pose and any angle. Hi guys, my name's apparently a town name, I guess. And yes, you might have experienced it yourself. Just drawing and putting together boxes and tubes might be enough to create something that's human-like. But there's obviously a big difference between just putting together shapes and actually drawing a believable human. And no, the difference is not anatomy. This drawing that you are seeing here could be done completely without anatomy skills. Instead, the skill you would need here is called shape design. And that's precisely what we are learning today. Obviously, you would need to be able to draw the bare basics for this, like rudimentary 3D shapes. Because advanced shape design isn't just about building something out of simple boxes and circles and other shapes. But it's actually about manipulating and warping these shapes in order to nail the volume and the shape of your reference, like in this easy example here. Volume's a big part of this. As you can see, I'm always splitting these shapes up into equal parts in order to understand their volume better. You know, just like I did in my video about the basic shapes, where I also split everything up in order to check if it has the correct volume. It's just a lot easier with simpler shapes like boxes and cylinders. This way I'm able to draw these shapes in different perspectives, angles and poses, because when you split them up into equal parts, you get a better grasp of how they work. And don't worry, we will start with something very simple to get your feet wet. I have 3 levels in total, so we'll start off easy with level number 1. As you can see, I will pick some very special references for this video, so you can be excited. And at the end of the video, there will be a cheat sheet as always, so you can practice all of this alone as well. Okay, so let's get into some advanced shape design, like a son. Okay, so what we are doing is practice drawing shape design by drawing Pokemon. Don't worry, you don't need to be a Pokemon fan or even like Pokemon, but in my opinion, you can study and practice shape design with Pokemon perfectly, because they are usually made out of very easy to understand shapes. Most of them anyway. There are also 3D models and all sorts of different views of basically every Pokemon on the internet, so this also makes it easier to study them and look them up in case you're stuck somewhere. In level number 1, we are going to take a look at a couple of very easy to draw Pokemon in order to kick things off. So let's grab a pencil and look at candidate number 1 that I've picked. Alright, now this should only take a quick second, but I'm just doing this as a warm-up to show you how it's done. Diglett is basically just one big dome shape. This is what shape design is all about. Understanding these unique shapes that aren't just boxes or spheres and trying to copy them with your pencil. So you can now put to the test if you understand that shape and try to draw it. And then split it into 4 even parts. Okay, easy enough. Now we also add the nose, which is just one elongated sphere. But don't forget that all of these shapes are 3D figures, and you should also split them into even halves. And obviously, same thing goes for the eyes. Now if you want to, you can split these shapes indefinitely. That's at least what I like to do when it comes to easy practices like these. Okay, now, this was just a quick warm-up to check if you got the gist of it. If your drawing looks as 3D as mine does, that's perfectly fine. But if you feel like your drawing just looks like a bunch of circles with random crosses drawn onto them, then you know this video is still a bit too much for you. In that case, you might want to check out my basics video instead. In this one, I explain the very basics of making an object look 3D. It's on my channel and you can give it a shot if you want. Okay, no, but let's get to our next Pokemon. Okay, here's something that's still pretty easy. This shouldn't be much of a problem if you've done the practices from my basics video. Now, in shape design, you try to first analyze how your reference is shaped. How could you easily break this Pokemon down? Weedle consists almost exclusively out of spheres, so this should be a very easy lesson as well. Also, don't worry if you're screwing up from time to time, happens to me as well. Sometimes you just gotta have a bit of a warm-up to figure things out, that's okay. Now again, don't forget to always split these shapes into even parts. By doing that, you're also developing an eye for 3D vision, which is always very helpful. Funnily enough, Weedle looks a lot like Diglett when it comes to the nose and the eyes and the head, so this is a very similar motive, just a bit harder, because there are obviously more elements that you would have to add. Oh, and don't forget to also split the horns in even parts once you draw them, and that's basically it. Okay, now, there is one easy Pokemon left for stage number 1, but I left that one for last because it does have one very tricky shape to it. Okay, if this is still a bit too easy for you, you could just draw a Magneton instead, which is just 3 Magnemites glued together. But I thought for the first stage, I should keep things simple. And even with easy shapes like these, always remember to draw these practices big. This drawing is almost the size of my palm, even though I'm just drawing a couple of simple shapes. Most of this shape design should be very easy to draw, but I think there are 2 minor challenges here. First of all, the screws. You don't have to draw them detailed at all, but if you want to draw mechanical stuff like swords, weapons, cars, etc. later on, you should definitely also draw them like I do in order to get some practice here. And the second Donphan in the room is obviously the magnets. This will be the trickiest shape in this stage thus far, but I think it's still manageable if you practice your line work enough. Okay, that has been all 3 of them, stage completed. Now, if you're still not confident enough or just want to get some easy practice in, you could always just try drawing these Pokemon from different perspectives as well. That way you're not leaving your comfort zone, and if stage number 2 is still too hard for you, you don't have to beat yourself up over it. Okay then, ready? Ready. Give me them new Pokeballs. I wanna see what's next. Okay, let's see what we got. But before we do, would you mind liking this video first? I do all of this by myself. Editing, writing, drawing, obviously, and everything else. And I would really appreciate every type of support I would get. You could also leave a support comment to boost this video in the algorithm by commenting your favorite Pokemon. Thanks so much in advance. I really appreciate it. Alright, I picked Ralts for the next lesson. This one should still be pretty manageable because the shapes are so easy here. I think Ralts is a nice transitioning from level 1 to level number 2, but the main reason why I've picked this Pokemon though is because it could get a bit tricky to split this one into even halves. And just so we're on the same page here, there is no objectively right way to split these shapes. That's the big challenge with this one, trying to split it up into even parts. Even though it's not obvious at first glance how you do it. Alright, that's that. Now, important. Do not throw away all of your drawings after you're done or if you don't like them. I also always keep all of them. That's why I usually draw in sketchbooks when the camera is not recording, so I even keep the ones that I don't like as much. It's always good to see how far you've come. And in case you're still looking for a new sketchbook, my dealer's sketchbook is available in my online shop along with my pencil case. They are both very sustainable. I've made sure my sketchbook has less than 5% wood fiber, so the pages stay shiny and white, and barely any tree had to die for this. And my new pencil case also isn't made out of dead animal skin. Check out my stuff that I've made if you're interested at DrawlikeaSir.com, and now we can open our next Pokeball. So Lunar Stone's the first one that I would consider more tricky. There are lots of planes and more shapes to this design, but again, this practice is perfect in order to get used to drawing more detailed things of all sorts. Clothing, mechanical stuff, architecture, you name it. Everything can be detailed and intricate like this, so Lunar Stone could be a great test of your skill. Okay, that one was more challenging, but I think it's also a lot more rewarding when you're done. Okay, got it? Then let's open the next Pokeball. Nah, I'm just kidding. Okay, this Pokemon looks like it's basically been created with shape design in mind. Lots of geometrical shapes in one creature. Now, I think what people are gonna struggle with here will be proportions. Like, maybe you're drawing the head too big or the body too small, etc. But you might remember my video on proportions where I showed you that it is sometimes very useful to measure things in order to get the proportions of your drawing right. So if you are struggling here, maybe give this method a shot and measure things out. Oh yeah, while drawing I totally forgot that I will have to add more elements below, so my camera setup didn't record that. Sorry about that. Okay, now, we are done with level number 2, and if you want to, you can practice drawing these Pokemon in different perspectives. You know, just like we did in level number 1. But if you are confident enough, we can take a look at the last level. Okay, so this Pokemon isn't impossible to draw, but it does contain a lot of shapes. So I thought this could be a good candidate for the last lesson. Again, if you struggle with proportions here, you could always just try to measure proportions like I've mentioned before. And yeah, you will see how I'm struggling with drawing the legs a bit, because I'm not perfect. And that's okay. Most of these will not work out perfect on the first try, so don't beat yourself up over it. And other than that, I'll just stop talking and let you guys enjoy the show. Now, what's the final one? Well, I did consider Regice because I think it's very geometrical, but I think you are now good enough to pick your final candidate yourself. There are literally over 1,000 Pokemon out there, and I think you should know yourself what you struggle with the most. So go out there and look up some Pokemon. But hey, you could also just tackle real, actual humans in case you're already confident enough for that. And in case you struggle with any of that, don't worry, because that's what I've made this cheat sheet for. This cheat sheet is the perfect guide to shape design, showing you how to analyze and construct your reference from easy shapes. Keep these steps in mind and you'll be fine. But screenshotting this requires subscribing to this channel in exchange. Subscribing is free, don't worry. And if you are already subscribed, you can just ring the bell instead, so you'll get notified when I upload the next lesson. Don't forget to check out my online shop with all kinds of different handy things for any kinds of artists out there. And I'll be happy to see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.